So you're still using your flip phone?
Flip phone, it's
Yeah.
happening. Yeah.
So you,
It's
I would imagine you don't have as many issues with Instagram as most people do, because most people have it right on their smartphone. So that's, I think, what causes most of the problem. So do you feel like you have a better relationship to it because of the flip?
I mean, I'm human and I still get caught in doom scrolling.
Hmm.
So I just don't do it on my phone. It's on my computer.
Yeah.
So it still happens. I would say probably if I had it on my phone that was on me all the time, it would probably happen more.
Yeah.
Because I'm not always by my computer, but I'm also going to admit that I definitely do some doom scrolling.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's
For
good. This
sure.
is, well, especially, so this is something that I love about you and that so many people love about you, because we do have to mention that you're a legend at Kripalu. People love
Oh
you.
God,
And you're a very,
that word.
yeah, and you're a very young legend at that, which is even cooler. So, but something, one of the things that, for real, the one of the things I love so much about you, and like so honored to guide the retreat with you, our program together,
Yeah.
medicine of sound healing and somatic breathwork. I'm so honored to guide that with you, and one of the things I love so much about you is because you can reference your humanness, right?
Mm.
Like I am averse, and I'm sure you are too, something we have in common. I am so averse to anybody who sounds like they know something that you don't know. And so come here to me and I'll tell you all about it. Like I'm so allergic to that. And there can be a fair amount of that in the wellness space sometimes. I mean, not luckily not with the people that we work with, which is awesome. But yeah, so just like bring me all the way back. You've been at Kripalu, I know some, but you've been at Kripalu like 17 years now?
18 years.
18.
This year in September will be 18 years.
Nice.
Yeah, I was reflecting with that around that with a friend, and it's my longest relationship. It
Ha.
feels like a marriage, honestly.
Mhm.
And the different waves that I've been in through those 18 years with Kripalu, it's a marriage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
But
go
it's
imagine.
also it's been a devotion, it's just been like a this is what I'm devoting my heart to and my
Yeah.
my being to. It's yeah.
When you initially showed up to Kripalu, was it the volunteer program that they used to have?
It was at that time we had a like a live-in working community of practice really. And so yeah, it was a volunteer program where there were like 65 or 70 of us all living together. When I first arrived, I lived with 21 women in a dorm,
Wow.
ages like 20 to like 75.
Wow.
It was bonkers.
Intergenerational dorming.
Intergenerational. Oh yeah, it was not an easy landing pad, let's say that.
Interesting. Yeah, so I'm so curious about, so when you arrived now 18 years later, like in retrospect, I would love to go back to that Jess 18 years ago arriving at
Oh God.
Kripalu. Yeah, well, did you have in mind, so first of all, would love to hear more about the Oh God. Second of all, did you have any sense of staying at Kripalu for any like amount of time in your mind? Like, oh, this is where I'm gonna, establish myself, or like, what was your thought process at that time? What was going on?
My thought process was I'm a hot mess. I'm in a complete state of suffering. Whatever I'm doing in my life at the time I was living in Portland, Oregon, it's not working. I need something different, and this was a suggestion from my therapist that I was seeing at the time, and also a nutritionist that I was seeing at the time, and they just said like you should go check out this place.
Hmm.
So I originally signed up for okay, this life is not working. I'm ready to close that chapter, and I signed up for the volunteer program, and I had never been to Kripalu. I had no idea where it was, knew nothing really about it. All that I did know is when I got onto the yoga mat and someone was teaching a Kripalu yoga class, I would bawl my eyes out. And it didn't happen with any other style of yoga. And at that time, I was working at a yoga studio. So I had like a lot of flavors of all the kinds of yoga. And for some reason, every time I got onto the Kripalu yoga mat, I started crying, and I was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
So, I was also deeply in a place of recovering from addiction. So I was struggling with an eating disorder, both bulimia and anorexia, and really just felt like in the phase of recovery that I was in, I just needed to drink and be nourished by love and compassion. And that to me was Kripalu. At least that was what it felt like. That's what it tasted like. And so I signed up for 3 months and packed up my stuff, put it in a storage unit, and imagined myself to come back to Portland, Oregon, and I never left Kripalu.
Mm, that's it. And here,
So
18 years later.
and yeah, I mean, I left at some point. I lived on campus for 6 years doing the volunteer program, doing a couple different internship programs. And when I left after 6 years, I moved to Thailand. So I was there for a year and then came back to Kripalu. So
Amazing.
I've been there pretty much the whole time.
Yeah.
But I never imagined to stay. It was really gonna be this, like, 3-month thing, immersion, and then just, like, go back to my life, whatever that was.
Yeah.
But this actually then became my life.
1,000%. There's a few things in here, and I'm gonna start with what made, if you could even put words to it, because sometimes that could be the trickiest thing to put words to it. What made Kripalu yoga different, do you think?
Ah, I'm still trying to figure that out, like, what
Sure.
is the secret sauce?
Yeah.
Um, but there was something in, the tone of the teacher, I think, and the spirit of Kripalu that was coming through the teacher, and I think that that spirit really was a vibration of love, care, gentleness, compassion, patience, like all these qualities of the heart that I was just so far removed from.
Mm,
One, because I was caught in an addiction, but also I think just the state of our world doesn't really amplify those qualities of the heart.
yeah.
And so I think on some level that frequency that was coming into the space from the teacher was really like bringing me back home to myself.
Yeah.
And that's
We've-
coming home to my body, which I was very far away from, coming back to my own heart, coming back to my own truth and knowing. And I just didn't really find that in many other styles of yoga. It was more about the physicality of something, or
mhm.
how hard can you do something, or how far can you push something.
Yeah.
It was just a very different approach that was
Yeah.
foreign to me, but also like, whoa, I also know this.
Yeah, coming home, like what you're saying in the coming home, it's like a familiarity, even in
Yeah.
discovering it, almost discovering it for the first time, and yet it's familiar kind of feeling.
Yes. Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
beautiful. It's funny. I found myself last night. I'm guiding this Zoom group series this summer, this
Mm.
summer series program, Breathwork. It's about nervous system regulation. But of course, it's so interesting how now in the years that I've been at Kripalu, not 18, I think I'm at 4 or 5 now. Um, and the way that you're saying the spirit of Kripalu like living through people, and it's funny because we started this conversation, by the way, by saying being like anti-guru, anti-thing, but the spirit of Kripalu to me is beyond even the concept of guru. It actually, I don't know how to say it better than just saying love. Like it's
Mm.
love, and you and I have had conversations just with each other about how, and also of course in our workshop, in our retreat together, around how the most radical transformation comes from radical self-compassion and radical self-acceptance. And in our culture, it seems so backwards. So even as you're saying these approaches to yoga class, and it's funny because I mean you are deeply steeped in yoga. I've done yoga teacher training. I've taught some yoga. I've been practicing yoga on and off. Like I'm not as deeply steeped in it, of course, as you are, and so many of our faculty are. But it's interesting how both you and I have yoga in our backgrounds, of course, at different capacities, but we both lean into other aspects of yoga in day to day life, not just the
Mm.
postures on the mat, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's so interesting how you're saying this love, this heart, this compassion. And as much as I come from, I was a hockey player when I was a kid. I come from this culture where it's like, if you want to change, if you want to fix something, push harder, work harder. And it seems like effort should be a byproduct. Like effort should create transformation as a byproduct. And in
Mhm.
some ways it does, but I think what I've learned and what is living through me as someone who's spent some years at Kripalu now, and I'll find myself speaking, I'm like, oh wow, I'm like feeling Kripalu living through me in a sense at times,
Mhm.
where I'm saying like I'll be telling people like the what I'm getting at is the most radical, clear, direct way to transform is through radical self love and radical self compassion. And again, I'm repeating myself, but it sounds so backwards, but it is the most revolutionary thing, and that's what Kripalu has in its essence, whether it's yoga on the mat or the many different workshops you guide and teach, and of course the breath work that I guide. It's like coming from that space, right? That seems to be it.
It's it's we live in such a world that is around striving, and just what I'm hearing you say is that the healing, or whatever words you want to use, awakening or coming back home, is it actually comes more from a place of receptivity and surrender and allowing.
Mm, yeah.
Like this opening doesn't come from me doing something. It
Mm,
actually comes from a a quote unquote posture, right? A stance of receptivity,
yeah.
which is just we're not trained. That's not how that's not the muscle that many of us are flexing on a daily basis.
Absolutely. And it's so interesting too, because I think about even so, I'll use the context specifically of asana, of postures on the mat. And I'll think of a class like shout out to Jurian. We had a faculty retreat where Jurian guided us through a beautiful, freaking genius, just like top of the top level yoga class. And I just remember this moment where we had our arms up, and she was like, imagine, just so gently and lovingly, imagine angels like holding up your fingers basically, but at the same time shoulders are burning, like you're meeting your edges. And I know in the things that you guide, and of course the breath work that I guide and that we guide together, it's just because you're meeting yourself with radical self-love and self-compassion doesn't mean you're not meeting your edges. Like you have the opportunity to meet your edges physically, emotionally, right? Like really meet your edges within the context of that compassion. It's like it seems like it's almost opposite, but the yoga class, for instance, can be very physically intensive if that's the
Hmm.
path you choose, but it's still
Yeah.
done from that place of the compassionate self-witness, the compassionate observer.
Yeah. So then you're meeting your edges just in a different kind of way, and a different kind of relationship.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel like what we push on pushes back, like it creates friction
Mhm.
in a way.
Yeah, like tension creates more tension.
Yeah, like you can't effort your way to ease? So it's so interesting to say, well, so how am I then pushing myself in quotes without pushing? How am I, right? But that's the magic that I find every day in every class that I either guide or take or, have experience
Mhm.
there, and a really special thing. So what is now, do you feel like, I know you have your journaling series, you've got so many things going on. So before we even get to the thing that we guide together, what is the thing now that's really lighting you up as a guide? Because you have so many different trainings and modalities that you draw from and everything. So what's
Mm.
lighting you up?
Well, all the things that I do light me up,
Mm,
because I
cool.
don't want to do anything that doesn't light me up. And I don't know, maybe that sounds so privileged to even say that, but there is an invitation, I think, that I have for myself, and that I even invite people that come into a space with me. Like, how do we point the compass towards the things that really matter most to us, and like live a life from that place? And I think it's possible. I don't always think it's easy, but it's definitely a different way of living than the way that the world told me I should be, and what I should be doing at this age. Um, but it's a question that I'm always asking myself is, what lights me up, what's most important, and what matters most. And the journal series is definitely one of them. So I lead the online journal series. We have one actually coming up in August. It's all about creative visioning from the heart. So how do we vision from the wisdom of the heart? Uh, that will also include creativity. So we're opening to and kind of evoking and igniting our own unique creativity, meaning like our own unique expression in the world, which kind of brings me back to what you were saying, John, in the beginning around the podcast. Like, sure, there's a saturation of podcasts, but you're doing this in your unique way. And actually, I think we need everyone to be doing their thing in their unique way.
Hmm. Yeah, thanks for saying that. I think sometimes because I'll get down about that, but like if for instance if oversaturation was a problem at this point, I don't think anybody would do hardly anything, right? Like it almost with the internet, it seems like everything's oversaturated. And then even more to the point, I remember in my better moments, I always remember when I was 25 years old, and I first read Krishnamurti, and I was on a cross country road trip at the time, and I was reading Freedom from the Known, and it's a compilation of his lectures that were transcribed and written down, and I was reading Freedom from the Known, and there were so many concepts in there that I had heard of before conceptually, but and so many that I hadn't even heard of before that completely blew my mind. But to the point here, and to your point, there were so many concepts that I had heard before conceptually, but when I read Krishnamurti's way of speaking about them,
Mm,
they landed right into my heart. And I was like, that's it. Like that was one of the most paradigm world shifting books for me personally. And then after that, I wanted to gift that book to everyone I knew, and I started to do that. And half the time people would be like, yeah, I read it, but like I don't really get it. And then they would read something like A New Earth, Eckhart Tolle, or do you say Tolle? I never know Eckhart Tolle. And they would read something like that, and they'd be like, that was the paradigm shifter for me. I'd be like, oh, and there's so many similar things being said, but the unique voice and how it's spoken. And so I appreciate you saying that. And for anybody who is listening to this, it is your unique voice that you never know the ripple effect it's going to make, because even if it's something you're like, oh, well, people have heard this a million times in a million ways or whatever it is, or how many yoga teachers there are in the world. Yeah, but you literally no one can replicate you. And
yeah.
anyway, so that in my better moments, I always remember that Krishnamurti moment. I call it's like a ground zero Krishnamurti moment where I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
I think too, sometimes it seems that sometimes I need to hear something like 500 times before it actually like gets integrated and embodied. And then it's just it's the timing, right?
Mhm.
My heart is more open, my perspective is more open, and then the timing of the right thing at the right time unlocks what needs to be unlocked.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, timing's a big one. And actually, I wanted to mention that too. It's interesting, and I thank you again sharing your journey coming to Kripalu, and at such a transition moment. And I found myself the bullet point. I was in LA and I was acting all these things, and then I read Micah Mortali's book Rewilding, and I was like, and I just basically showed up, packed up my car, showed up on the doorstep of Kripalu, and was like, hey, I want to learn from Micah. And again, I wasn't didn't plan to spend the next 5 and who knows how many years of my life there, but that's how it unfolded. But it was at this very
Yep.
crucial transition point in my life. And I find, do you find that in the time you've been here, the people who tend to come to Kripalu, it's usually around transition, or how might you identify? Not that you need to speak for anybody in any capacity, but like, what do you find is the most common thing of people coming to Kripalu?
Yeah, yes, there's a lot of people that are always in some kind of transition, 100%. Um, a lot of people are lonely and looking for community. Oh, sorry, that's my door just slammed because of the wind.
Oh,
Um, so
amazing.
a lot of people are, I find that a lot of people are isolated. Like it's lonely out there, and so I notice that a lot of people come to find their way together, and I think that's one of the pillars of Kripalu is people and community and finding our way together.
Yeah.
Um, uh, I also think that a lot of people I find come because they're in some kind of like major catalyst of change. Like
Mhm.
something is happening in their life and it's a, you know, yes, it's a transitional point, but it's also a big catalyst that is evoking some kind of change or transformation, and they're needing new tools, and or I would say even more recently, people just need to rest.
Yeah.
People are depleted, exhausted from just the input of the world, from just being bombarded. Like the nervous system is fried and needs rest and like deep restoration and rejuvenation. So I see that quite a bit. I
Yeah.
lead a lot of our silent retreats, and so I'm just seeing a lot of people that are coming definitely for silence, but I think some of that is just because the world is too noisy.
Mm.
And it's like I need to unplug and restore this whole being,
Yeah.
meaning like the heart and the body, but also the nervous system. That's just, yeah,
I'm really glad
important.
you Yeah, absolutely. I'm really glad you mentioned that because I had done, I think it was maybe in February,
Yeah.
the silent retreat with you because I wanted to observe and just again just absorb the just the incredible things that you share. And I know that's such a special thing that you have going. People come to you and come to Kripalu to be like, I want Jess's silent retreat, right? Like not to, I don't want to say that. I don't know if that like
Well, it's
embarrass.
not mine.
I know it's not yours,
Let's
but they
clarify
want,
that.
I
It's not
know,
mine.
I
It's
know, but they want
something much
you.
bigger than me.
I'm just saying, and I don't mean, again, I don't mean to be like flattery kind of thing or whatever to make you uncomfortable, but people, they get so excited to come and work with you specifically in the context of course, the Kripalu teachings and the things that absolutely 1,000% acknowledging the generations of people that have built everything that a lot of these programs are, and like we stand on the shoulders of giants, absolutely. So 1,000%, and you're humble, so I knew that, but they love your approach in the context of all of that, right? So just to shout that out. And so I wanted to come to the silent retreat with you and just be
Mhm.
guided, be held in that. And it was so profound, and I actually recorded about like 25 or 30 minutes of voice notes, um and not to mention all the journaling. But for one thing, I did not use my phone at all until afterwards to record the voice notes, which was all just a compilation of notes. Anyways, I'm going to put it all together, and I think ultimately I'm going to share, make it a little more concise and share it on this podcast because I release something every Wednesday. And so a reflection on the silent retreat, because it hit me in some of the ways that I figured it might, like the unplugging, all the things that you might expect a silent retreat might do. It hit me in ways I figured it might. And then it hit me on whole other levels that I never would have thought of or ever would have expected. And so, anyways, I've got all that, and I'll save that for the other thing.
Oh, I
But
can't wait to hear.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so again, I know I've thanked you already before, but thank you again because it to call it restoration and deep, like a deep sense of restorative nervous system resting time. Yeah, it is that. And but it's somehow more than that, and it's kind of hard sometimes to put into words, because sometimes I get to I'll just say this much more about it, is just that I get to the point day to day where like I can't, it sounds so weak, but like I can't check my text messages anymore. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Where I'm just like, I can't even look at them. Like they just start to pile up. And it's like, especially my text messages, I'm very grateful. It's usually nice things from like friends or family or whatever, but it's just like, I can't take more electronic input.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's weird. So on one end, I'm like at capacity, but then on the other end, I'm undernourished. You know what I mean? So it's just like, am I overwhelmed, or am I just like, or is it like eating, if you were to eat 10 pounds of junk food that's like lots of calories but no nutrients, you'd be essentially quote unquote starving to death, but at the same time, you'd be like so overfull. And so
Sure.
sometimes I feel like that, and it completely recalibrated doing the silent retreat, especially with you, recalibrated that completely.
It's such a good question, like what nourishes, because I can feed myself metaphorically with a lot of empty things. And
Yeah.
yeah, like what actually nourishes
Yeah.
deeply.
I think that does make me think of one thing about like the text message, for instance, even if it's someone that we know and love, I feel like we get the nourishment from tone of voice and facial
Mm,
expressions.
mm,
So even if it's someone we know and love that's texting us, it's like, that's really nice. Maybe it makes us smile. Maybe it gives us a dopamine hit, whatever. If you're, dating someone new, ooh, like the excitement, whatever. But I think it's like tone of voice and facial expressions that give the nourishment of it, I think.
mm.
That'd be my
Yeah,
hypothesis.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So, when other thing I deeply appreciate about you is that you do a lot of your own work on retreats. You have your own space that you go to be fully, deeply immersed in practice yourself. Like you're always
Mm,
deeply immersed in your own practice, which I respect a lot. Um, yeah, is there anything you would like to speak to with that? Like, cause you've done like extended silent retreats yourself on multiple
mm.
occasions and all that stuff. Anything around that you'd like to speak to?
Uh, I like to walk the walk, walk the talk. And as much as I might be like a facilitator in the room, I'm always a student. And as much as I kind of am the guide of an experience or a retreat, for me personally, leading from a place of authenticity and integrity means that I also have to be not that and be
Mm,
the receiver of and allow someone else or something else to guide me.
yeah.
And so it's kind of like how do I dance the two sides of the coins, because if I was just always in facilitator mode, I think I'm missing a really big piece of what could potentially happen in a transformational space, because I'm only seeing it from one perspective.
Yeah.
um there's also just the as much as I pour, I also drink, so to
Hmm.
speak, in that metaphor of, yeah, I pour a lot into my life and into Kripalu and into what I do. And I want to make sure that I'm equally filling up my cup
Yeah.
and drinking and being nourished myself.
Beautiful.
And that, yeah, means sometimes I go bye-bye and unplug from the world and dive more deeply into my own practices, away from the Kripalu bubble.
Yeah. No, it's so beautiful and important because especially in an age where a lot of um wellness people do, whether it's themselves or they have a team, do so well with daily internet marketing, right? It's interesting how, you could say that marketing or getting yourself seen at a very high level is a great skill. And it's, again, either one that people have a great skill of themselves or they hire a team for it. But if they're doing it themselves, well, then where's the practice, right? Like, when do you have time to practice? And so that's something I just so deeply respect about you. And I use as really like someone I look up to, because
Mm,
you will take these times to be like, I'm going on this retreat, I'm going to this space, because first of all, it's obviously healthy, I would imagine, for you as an individual to refill your cup, like that whole thing, in order to pour over into others, you fill your cup. um and so being so deeply into your practice too, new insights, refreshing it, and bringing, even going back to when you said you like to lean into things that light you up, so you're only really doing things that light you up. And that is so contagious as a teacher at the front of the room, like through the words that are spoken but also energetically,
yeah.
because I feel like we've all been around teachers probably in some capacity that have just been saying the same thing for years on end, and there's no aliveness really in it anymore.
Mm,
So the information might be really beautiful and really transformative, but when the teacher's embodying the full aliveness, it's a whole
yeah.
different story. So
Yeah.
it's no surprise that people respond to you the way they do.
I think it's also important to say that I don't know, I take this perspective too of I don't need to go somewhere for my practice. Like, what if our our everyday moment of every day is our practice. So this is where it's not just practices on the yoga mat or when I go away to retreat and sit on a cushion and be quiet for however long. Like, what if me walking in the woods and talking to the trees was a practice? Or when I go to the grocery store, that's my practice. Or when I have to clean my house or do my laundry. Or like I'm taking care of my friend's kids. Like, uh, there's something I think really profound, and the practice isn't over there.
Mm,
And the practice is actually my relationship to everything that I'm in relationship to in my life.
beautiful. Yeah.
And everything that is presenting itself to me is my practice.
Mm,
And that's just a radically different way of, for me, living life and being in relationship to what's here and also what's arising. Because sometimes that's awesome. And I get to go to the lake and swim in the sun and that kind of thing. And sometimes what's presenting itself is really sticky and murky and, a little, I don't know, messy.
hmm.
But it's just a reframe of like the practice isn't over there. It's
Yeah.
it's whatever is presenting itself to you in the moment is actually the invitation for practice.
Beautifully said. Yeah, beautifully said. At once, it's making me think of Krishnamurti again. I guess he's just here today, in my mind at least.
I haven't read this book. I need to go read this book.
Yeah, well, again and again, it may or may not resonate because I kept, like I said, I kept giving it to people, and some people were like, okay, and then other people were like, oh, is, I feel like I saw a clip of him in a lecture, and somebody said something about what do you think of yoga, and I'm definitely paraphrasing here, but he was like, it's exercise. And it was one of those things where I'm just like, oh my God, did the whole room just like shudder? Like, what? It's because he was basically saying it's just exercise. But his point was, what are you bringing to it?
Yep.
Right? And it's just like, I mean, it's anything. It's the Zen thing. Wash the dishes to wash the dishes becomes a spiritual practice. And again, these are all things that sound like, yeah, when people are so stressed and taxed to the max, they're like, having to wash my dishes is not a spiritual practice. It's in the way of me getting, an extra 20 minutes of sleep right now. So F off, or whatever. Um, but the idea that there is so much you can find magic in the moments that are right in front of us, and even if it's not magic, like you said, even if it's sticky or messy, you find a practice within, just really by being available to it. Yeah.
It's relationship. Yoga, it's relationship.
Mm, yeah. Well
Like, how
said.
do I be in relationship to all of life?
Yeah. Beautiful. And speaking of which, there was another thing that I had learned about you that I want to ask about is death doula.
Oh, yeah.
Is that a
Um,
thing? Is that something that
is
you
that a thing?
is that a thing that you do?
I have done a lot of workshops at Kripalu around talking about death, about welcoming and inviting that conversation more into the space. I worked a lot with a guy named Michael Hebb. He's more on the West Coast. And he offers a beautiful book. It's and practice. It's called Death Over Dinner,
Mm,
where we're having this conversation literally over a dinner party around death and our relationship to death. Um and then yeah, I've worked with a couple of people in their last stages or phases of life. But it's not something that I like. uh I don't know what the right word is, but yes.
yeah.
It's something that really lights me up. Because I think if we're talking about our own death and our own immortality, we're also opening the door to then how do I want to live?
A
And
thousand.
I get one wild, precious life, and it goes by really fast. And I think I can often get caught taking it for granted. And just when I'm having these conversations around death and immortality, and I'm not going to be here forever, it really actually teaches me how to live.
I love that. That's beautiful. I don't usually share it. And actually, when I got this little tattoo when I was 21 years old,
Oh
this tiny
yeah,
little tattoo. It's the only
yeah.
one I have. And I guess I'm just sharing it now. And it sounds dark, but it says death is coming.
Oh. Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
and when I was 21, especially, if I was like, I had social anxiety. So it wasn't like I was hanging out at a lot of bars at the time, but if I was like out, college time or whatever, and people were like, oh, what's that say? I kind of would talk around it, or I wouldn't really say because it sounds like, ooh, that's so heavy. But the thing was, I remember I had this professor, and just long story short, they told this story about one of their friends that was an avid hiker and would like see, go to the summit mountains and was like made it. And every time they would get to the top of a mountain, they had this mantra, which is like, it would be okay now. Like, because they were so deeply connected to the richness of their life that, again, it's a longer story, but basically they
Yeah.
were living from this place of, I'm gonna I'm gonna make every moment matter. I'm gonna be here for every moment. That if this thing had to happen now, it's okay because I've been
Yep.
here every moment.
Yep.
And so it was
Yep.
from the story of this professor that I got this, because I was having at the time, again, social anxiety. I had such bad anxiety. I was terrified to live. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense, because it's almost like I'm terrified to live because I'm scared of to die. And it's just like, but there was nobody I could talk to about it, really, because it's such a taboo subject. So anyways, bringing it all to the point that's why I wanted to ask you about it, because it's so taboo. And yet, if we were open to having a conversation around it in this context, it's the most life affirming, beautiful thing we could ever have a conversation about. And so to me, this tattoo was like the most beautiful thing, and like a real transition point in my life, because I was like, this is my commitment to live, like to really live. And it
Yeah.
all came from opening this conversation.
Yeah.
So
You're choosing life.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a saying, don't die before you die. Like, how many of us die before we really die? We're living we're living deadness,
Mm,
in our waking life.
yeah.
And then there was some research, I think, around people that were in their last like couple days of their life, and their biggest regret was, I didn't live a life true to myself.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't want that at all. I don't want to be at that place where I'm having that regret and there's only a couple more days to live.
Yes. Yeah.
And likewise, I with an eating disorder, I stood at the door of death a lot.
Mm.
Like, I was knocking on that door, and yeah, there's a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so beautiful, again, that yes, it's Kripalu, it's those walls, it's the place itself, and that it's even deeper, that current, right? For lack of a better way to put it, that current of
Yeah,
love,
it's a
of
current,
radical
yeah.
self-compassion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
really special. Yeah, so thank you for sharing that. And then um this other thing was around, so it's my understanding, and definitely correct me if I'm wrong, shifting gears here slightly. It's my understanding that enough people. So I want to give a shout out. I'm just going to say Julie. I'm not going to say her last name just because I don't know if she wants to be specifically named or not. So Julie, there's a lot of Julies in the world, but Julie, you know who
Okay.
you are. So it's my understanding, starting with Julie, that enough people had come to Kripalu, had done your sound bath, and then had done my breath work, and had responded and said something, so independently of each other, right, just on the R&R schedule, independently of each other over the time they were there, did your sound bath and my breath work, and that they wrote to our bosses, I guess, or on the comment cards, because yes, our bosses read those comment cards, like really like speak up and those things, because a lot of beautiful stuff can come of it. And um so Julie had mentioned that she was like advocating and adamant that having that experience of your sound bath and my breathwork, to put them together. She was like, "Can you please put these two things together in a retreat, in a weekend, because between those two things." And so that it's my understanding that she wasn't the only one, but she like started the ball rolling. So then, when, I don't know if you mentioned it to me first or Ellen Rose, but the point is, obviously, you're a friend, you're a coworker, you're a peer, but also someone I look up to, and learn a lot from all the while. And so I was just really honored when it was like, "Hey, do you want to put our sound bath and our breath work together?" Am I getting that story? Like, in your understanding, is that sort of what happened? Because
There was a weekend and I had probably 4 or 5 people come up to me and say the same thing. And then I reached out to you and just said, what do you think about this idea? I think it would be a great idea. They're so complementary to each other and they're speaking the same language, just in a very different kind of way. And here we are a year later.
yeah, rest is history.
I know.
Yeah,
Um,
cool.
so
Yeah, they've been wonderful, and yeah, very grateful, and I'm also grateful because we have even more for 2027, even more on the calendar, which is awesome. And I'm also excited too, and we'll sidebar on this, but in learning more about your journaling series and the creativity and all those things, ways we could integrate even more of the creativity and the prompts with the breath work, with the sound, and how we can use.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I love that, especially when you're in a space, especially when you get even, because journaling in and of itself is obviously one of the most profound, powerful things you can do, of course. And then especially when you're in the potentially like the breath work can induce this sort of shift in consciousness to some degree, which can open up a whole deeper space of the unconscious. The way that through sound, like when we're pairing them, it could really open some other doors in the consciousness. So then journaling after or like among those practices can obviously take it to such different places. And so anyway, it's exciting.
Coming up at the end of the month
Yep.
here. So I'm curious, what are you most excited about?
Yeah, so July 31st to August 2nd, all right? Breath and sound. Um, I am most excited about how fresh it is every time we do it. That we both come in with that feeling that we speak, and I love it. I even remember last time when we were in the main hall and just like this big beautiful room and the gorgeous setup, and just walking into that room on the opening night on the Friday night, just walking into that room, seeing you setting up all the sound, all the different instruments and everything, and the bowls, and just walking in and just feeling like this is new,
Mm,
like the freshness of it, and just like that percolation of excitement, like this has never happened before. Because again, we have the general, like the format, like we know, we guide the a format, but that we both show up being like, we will be fully available to this being completely new every time, because every individual that's in that room brings, as they bring their unique self to it, that room is never the same. And that's true of anything, but the fact that we both are the type of facilitators that lean into that freshness, that's because we both love it. We both love it so much. So I feel so lit up by what we do. So yeah, that the freshness that we both welcome into that space is what gets me most excited. Yeah. How about you?
awesome. Well, I have some new friends that I'm going to be playing.
Nice.
So that's really exciting to me that
Nice.
I'll be bringing and want to be played in that space. And I think the way that both sound and different kinds of sound and that whole journey of sound and all the different kinds of breath work and movement practices that will be engaged in that weekend um become like this alive living vibration that helps us all, even myself and you included, remember um and come into this place of remembrance of something that's like ancient. I mean, I feel like we've been doing this as humans for a very long time, coming into spaces with sound and breath and community. There's something about presence, and then also the way that like the rhythms of both breath work and sound creates a harmony. There's like a harmony of and we get to like deepen into the pulse of our own heart, the pulse of the pulse of life. It's like we're returning to our natural rhythms, and
Beautiful.
breath and sound is helping us do that. Again, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning, like this homecoming.
There was this other thing that I was thinking about before too, is in this age of saturation of things on the internet, there is something so special about these experiences, like the one we're guiding and the work that we do together, that I feel like, at least I'll just use an I statement. For me, it's like when I do find myself going to whatever the platform to the scroll, a lot of times it's like this dopamine chase to learn something new that will contribute to my growth and transformation. Like that's really what's at the core of it.
Hmm.
And but oftentimes we say but I think the problem with it is, again, the oversaturation, or the, like, going all the way back to the nourishment component. It's like I personally, I'm like looking for this growth and transformation through this format where it's not like it's impossible to do it through getting these short clips on Instagram or YouTube or something like that. It's not like you can't learn or don't grow from things. Like, you absolutely can. Those can be great platforms for different reasons. But the thing, when you come to a space like our retreat that I'm thinking of, it's the growth and transformation layers in and integrates organically because it's so humanly paced. It's like human, like biologically ancient human pacing, so that things can process in the time that they're meant to. So the transformation, it's like less noise, and
Hmm.
like really no noise. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't feel like chatter that way. So there's no noise to cut through. It's just actually like living the rhythms, and like being in the rhythms gives space for a transformation, and it just feels more effortless. Like, there's no sifting that has to happen. Is this making, I'm trying to articulate this in
It
real time. I
is.
don't know if I'm
When you're saying like these natural rhythms, I think what's happening in the space is people are just remembering what we already know inside, and that remembering is in and of itself transformational.
yeah. Yeah, beautiful.
Because then I'm not only remembering it, now that I remembered it, I have the opportunity now to live from that place.
Yeah.
That's transformational in and of itself. It's not because I went on whatever Instagram to find something to transform.
Yeah. So, last thing I'll say on my end here is, in this summer series that I've been going, right, in this session the other night, I was drawing on, oftentimes I'll talk about the imprints of stress, and that the
Mm,
breath can, metaphorically speaking, sweep through and kind of clear out the imprints of stress. So it's like there's that. But I was really focused on this idea, was just really bubbling up the other night, and it was that there are imprints of love that get left on our heart from people who care for us, and the deep connections that we have to places and people and animals, um and so they leave imprints on our heart in the best way. And so this idea of coming home and remembering, I think sometimes it's just remembering and tuning into these imprints that have always been there, but maybe we never really had the chance or had the moment to fully land in them. So as much as it's like remembering, it's like it might be remembering at a whole other or like a whole deeper level, not to compare, but like at a deeper level, because we're like, there's a message that's been in there, and maybe we're aware of it, maybe we're not. But even if we are aware of it a little bit, it's like, oh, not only am I aware of it, now I'm living it,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, it's remembering, it's receiving, it's fully being nourished by something. Like
Yeah.
all of those imprints, I can know them, but then like what's the embodiment of that? The
Yeah.
embodiment is when I'm actually really receiving the nourishment of that,
Yeah.
not just check what's next.
1,000%. And then, to do it in real time with real life community and people. And it's so cool too, because how we all, so many people that we spend time with at Kripalu that come through those doors, like, become people who are, too early to say friends for life, but literally are that. You know what I mean? So it's not just like, okay, bye, never talk to you again. It's like heart by heart, the community just grows, and it's people that are just in my life, that are part of my life,
Yeah.
as clients, as friends, as people. We see so many familiar faces at every retreat, and it's just like, it really truly is the community that I personally, when I showed up, that was maybe the biggest, if not one of the
Yeah.
biggest things I was looking for myself. So it's beautiful.
Soul
Uh,
people,
yeah.
walking each other home.
Yeah, 1,000%.
That's
Yeah.
what's happening.
Beautiful. So yeah, July 31st to August 2nd. Can't wait.
Yes.
And anything else you want to share or speak to while we're here together?
No, I just real gratitude to be able to share space with you and to be in this conversation with you. And likewise, it goes both ways. I get to learn from you. It's a two-way path here.
Thank
So
you. Yeah, people.
grateful to walk the path with you.
Thank you, back at you. Yeah, and it is a nice balance. I feel just even as an individual, but then people also reflect like facilitator wise, like how our energies complement each other, which I always appreciate. I'm like, yeah, it's really nice. It's like yeah, it feels like part of a whole kind of, and I
Yeah.
love that feeling. I love that feeling. So how about the Instagram that you have that you use from your laptop, because not the smartphone, which I deeply respect. I actually have my flip phone here. Every now and then I put my SIM card back into it.
That's the same style that I have.
Nice. It is so refreshing. It's just that when, like I'm going to a festival this week, a wellness festival this weekend, and I need a friggin' QR code. It's like everything
Oh,
needs a,
I
so there are all
know.
these little
I know.
workarounds. But anyways, we
Yeah.
could do a whole other episode on a tutorial, how to live with a flip phone in 2026. I think we should do that. Yeah. Yeah. You got some good tips. So,
That's great.
but yeah, so Instagram, ways that people get in touch with you. Obviously, Kripalu, of course, they could always find you on the website there. But your like Instagram or
Instagram,
website.
Facebook,
Yeah,
and also a website. Yeah, so all of those are great ways to connect. And I'm on both Instagram and Facebook every day. I like to do a inspirational quote every day.
yeah,
So it's
awesome.
it's actually for my own practice that then just gets shared with the world.
Yep, best way to do it. I love that, and they're beautiful too. So, and is that all your name, all at Jess Frey?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Frey.
Frey.
Yeah, cool. All right, thank you. New episode every Wednesday. More information at jonorsini.com. Victory to the light within.